Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of Arsenal X, the Xbox podcast, part of the Boss Rush Games network of podcasts. It's a lot of podcasts. I'm here with my boy Chris Berensmeyer for the Gaming Outsider. Chris, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. How you doing?
Coming through in the clutch for me here. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that.
Hey, I'm always here for friends.
Oh, we're friends.
I know, man. Well, I
friends.
came out to see you at the video game summit.
Yeah, we all saw each other. We got to hang out. You know, you got to show me that bag of Atari prototypes.
Yeah.
You got, you were really excited. I'm always happy for you when you come up to me like, Stoy, guess what I got? And I was like, it's probably something really exciting. Show me, But I was there for, quite a few of your finds and everything in the past. So
yeah, you've been there for some of the big ones.
Yeah. And I think I have a picture of your hand hovering over my balls once. I think at Extra Life a couple years ago.
Probably.
Yeah. So, but I think it was a weird thing. It was just we didn't know what to do with our hands, so that's just where they went, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we're guys. It happens.
Dudes just hanging out.
Yeah, I completely live with that.
We were dudes just hanging out, talking about video games. So playing video games. But so Chris, where can our listeners follow you? What do you do?
So I am on the Gaming Outsider. You can find our website at thegamingoutsider.com. Podcast. You can pretty much find us on anywhere you listen to podcasts. And then my Twitter and Instagram handles, as well as my TikTok handle, is at GoCastChrisB.
So explain the content that you provide on TikTok, because that's news to me.
It's very small. I'm just getting into that. You have to remember, I'm an old man.
Yeah.
In the TikTok world. Mm-hmm. But I've done a few videos on stuff that's in my collection, and then bombing around doing my daily job working as a paramedic.
Okay. That's cool.
So yeah. It's a fun creative outlet that I'm trying to learn, but horribly.
The paramedic thing or the TikTok thing?
The TikTok thing.
Okay, all right. You're out there in the paramedic world trying to figure this out, like shit.
What do I do?
What do I do? This guy's bleeding everywhere. There's part of his skull over there, and what the fuck?
Yeah, I think my boss would hate me if I walked in and did that to him one day. Though, you know what? I think I should try it when I'm at the station.
Yeah. One of these.
How do I do this? I don't remember how to start IVs today.
Yeah, no kidding. This goes where? I feel that way too because I work in surgery. So like, there's a lot of times where like, hey, Stoy, could you go work in this case? Like, I'm too scared to say like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing there. Like, but it's like, yeah, sure, I'll give it a try.
I will still say to this day, orthopedic surgery scares the ever living hell out of me. It's disturbing.
When you see what we do to you and what tools and devices that let me tell you, the human skeletal system is one of the most resilient structures I've ever seen. I mean, sometimes it's easy to break a bone, but the amount of destruction that we can do and fix things at the same time, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I remember going through my paramedic rotation, and the first time I saw a doctor pull out a wooden mallet during surgery, I'm like, what is that for?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Goes, just sit and watch. You'll see. And I'm like, that's disturbing.
So you'll love this, actually. So when we do hip replacements, we have to shove a rod about like, I'm using layman's terms. We have to shove like kind of like a rod, like a stem in the femur about like, I don't know, about 6 inches or whatever. So instead of taking kind of like a stick or whatever and hammering it down into the canal, that's too much work nowadays. So now we have this big pneumatic gun. We're talking like it's almost like a foot long. It's about like, the size of like a hammer drill, so to speak. And it provides pneumatic pressure onto
like
the femur.
The cattle gun.
Yeah. So we're talking like dunk, 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 dunk. Like you hear that like loud as hell. Like, and man, it's something else. But it is amazing to like, load the battery onto it, because like every time you load a power drill or whatever, you got to load the battery on like it's a freaking handgun. And then you sit there like shooting the air thinking you're a badass with a pneumatic surgical gun. Whatever.
Hey, I enjoy it. You enjoy it. Most people are going to be like, what is wrong with you two?
Yeah, for sure. We're just beating up on bones. So But yeah, well, that's cool. I mean, some people can work the medical field, some people can't. So it's just whatever.
Yeah.
But
And there's nothing wrong with that.
But Chris, we're heroes.
Oh, don't give me that crap.
Yeah, tell me about it. Everyone's like, "Oh man, thank you for what you do." I was like, "Do what? Get out of here."
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. Well, yeah, you guys have been the Gaming Outsider. I've been listening to you guys for a very long time, obviously, and you guys are obviously some of my best friends. And every time we talk and hang out, it's always a good time. So really appreciate you hanging with me tonight on a new podcast. Some of you guys that may be listening to this thinking like, am I listening to the right podcast? Well, I'm brand new to this. I have experience with my podcast, the EXP Cast, and we've had you guys on before many times in the past. And I was brought in as kind of like a new co-host of the show. So I am going to be co-hosting the show with Jesse and then some other members of the Boss Rush Games Network. But today, basically, I'm all by my lonesome. And Chris, thankfully, was able to answer the call, answer the podcast signal that I sent up into the air. And you came calling, so I really appreciate that. But let me tell you, if you want to stop the X, you try your best. We're still fucking with your pockets like the IRS. Quote the famous poet Exhibit.
Oh, again, you love him much more than I do, but
oh boy, yeah. I don't listen to him that much. I just had his first album way back in the day, and
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's about as far as I got too.
Yep. I had Pit My Ride for the 360. I remember. I still have it.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
I actually miss that show dearly.
Yeah, because some of the crazy stuff that they came up with, I'll never forget one episode where this guy loved Dance Dance Revolution. So they put Dance Dance Revolution in the trunk of his car.
Yeah, actually I remember that one.
Yeah, they put like this, they opened this trunk and they put this big screen TV in there, or LCD, whatever it was at the time, and then a PlayStation 2. And then, yeah, basically like they rolled up a little dance pad. So like you could pull your car up in a parking lot and then play Dance Dance Revolution there, which why do you need that?
Because why not?
You're right.
You know, I will say that the one that I missed, the one that I absolutely thought was the funniest was the time they put a fish tank with actual fish in it in between two enormous subwoofers. And I'm like, that's not going to work out well.
Wow. Why?
I'm like, do we just vibrate fish to death here? Like, why are you doing this? He's like, but I like aquariums.
Yeah, but in your car?
Yeah. I'm like, can you just imagine on a hot summer day, be like, I just cook my fish, bro, in here.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
I can't imagine a lot of those cars being very functional after the fact. Like, it would be cool to see, like, after Pit My Ride, to see like what happens to these cars. Cause man,
Pit My Ride reunion.
Yeah.
Somebody rolls up in their Toyota Camry that's been completely decked out, but like 15 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. The fish are all dead. I actually don't know how to open the fish tank to put in new fish. So they're just sitting there. Ugh. Interesting. So anyway, yeah. We are part of the Boss Rush Games Network. It's they have a bunch of podcasts. They're flagship podcasts, but there's definitely a lot of other content creators out there, like the grand old boys at the EXP Cast. And then you got WASD and Beyond, Lore Together, Tower Casuals. That's an all Destiny podcast, which apparently Destiny is still a big thing. I'm happy for them. 1v1 podcast with one-on-one interviews. You got the Nintendo Pow Block and the Crossroads, the PlayStation podcast. So then they also have some other like entertainment style podcasts like Rope Talk. It's like a wrestling podcast. And then you also have Land Party and Trash Talk, a sports podcast. So you watching the Olympics at all?
I have been following, not religiously, but it still amazes me that we were able to pull it off. It is a little disturbing seeing everything say 2020 Olympics.
Yeah.
And when they're like, oh my gosh, it's as quiet as a pin drop in here as this dive is performed, and I'm like, dude, there's nobody in the stands.
Yeah. It's
but yeah, bravo to some of these athletes. I mean, way to keep it going. I've been thoroughly entertained with some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Not really surprised by some of the results, but
nope. China's still paving the way. You know, they have an athlete factory going on in that country. I was even it's even weird like watching like volleyball, like women's volleyball. You know, the crowd is always so energetic at some of those games, but then like you hear no one in the crowd and you hear every little thing that every player says in that court. It's just like, it's kind of weird. Like it was like watching, I can't imagine like watching the NFL and stuff like that with empty stadiums last year. I know watching soccer last year, like, you know, Premier League.
Yeah.
Like you can actually hear every curse word everyone is saying on the field. It's amazing.
It is. But yeah, my biggest problem with the Olympics, though, whether it's over there, over here, wherever it is in the world, all the stuff that I want to watch is on at the dumbest times of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Judo, taekwondo, fencing, the shooting sports. It's always like, oh yeah, it's 2 a.m. Great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. You don't want to watch the replay because, well, you know, you're going to Google what happened. So
yep. Unless
you got good restriction on yourself. I was actually reading that they took out Greco-Roman wrestling for a while.
Yeah. But they took that out.
And they brought it back apparently this Olympics. I think they brought it back at this Olympics.
Is it this one or is it the next one that they're bringing it back?
I forget because I know they like voted to actually reinstate it because it's like, this is the oldest Olympic sport. How can you take out the oldest Olympic sport? You know?
Yeah.
I go ahead.
It's sad. It's sad because they take that out, but they leave in badminton.
Mm-hmm. And windsurfing. Windsurfing is an Olympic sport. And they're going to bring in video game esports at the next one.
Oh man. I'm excited for that, but at the same time I'm like, can we just be our own thing in gaming?
Yeah.
Like let's have the video game Olympics. Let's just do that.
Actually, yeah, that would probably be better. You can combine, you know, fighting games, first person shooters and, you know, MMO games. Like, yeah. I like that idea.
You know what? Let's start it. We'll start it up.
You and me. All right, let's go.
Yep.
Let's go. We'll call it the CBSJ Olympics.
There we go. I'm okay with that.
That's a tentative name, but we'll most likely stick with it at the end. So, yeah. So that's there's a lot of content on the website. There's a lot of news pieces, articles, banter pieces, and all sorts of stuff. Apparently, one of the biggest performers on the website. Everybody loves this High School Musical, the show. I don't know what the title is, but apparently everyone loves this show. But it's getting canceled. But everyone still loves it. I don't understand. So
yeah, I've never really stood for High School Musical. It's not really my cup of tea, man.
Yeah, same. So, well, yeah, I guess moving on to the next. And on that note, moving on to the next piece of the podcast, the section it's called "What's in Your Arsenal." These guys love their little taglines and their little slogans. So, for those that don't know, and me, I had to learn this. This means, what are you currently playing? So, Chris, what is in your arsenal?
Currently, I've been playing an ungodly amount of Microsoft Flight Simulator.
I imagine it takes up a lot of your time.
I've put over 24 hours in already.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I saw you posted a picture once of you landing in your backyard.
Yes.
Quite literally. So the maps, I mean, obviously that's not your house from what you said.
No.
Yeah.
It's generic house number 4, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
But the actual road maps are pretty accurate. There's a small grass airport about 4 or 5 miles from my house. So took off from that and literally just followed the roads back to my house and attempted to land on my street, but failed miserably.
Okay. Do they populate cars or anything, or is it just like empty streets? Wow.
Cars are there, so as you're driving, you can actually see cars driving down the streets. When you get closer, they do disappear.
Oh, okay.
I'm I'm not quite sure where it is, but there is a point in the game where once you drop below it, the graphics start to shift quite a bit. It's probably like right around 50 to 100 feet.
Okay.
But once you drop below that, you're like, ooh, graphics took a hard shift towards the negative. But other than that, when you're up in the air, man, this game is beautiful. And it handles wonderfully.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been playing on a mix of both my controller and the HOTAS flight stick.
Okay.
And it is probably one of the most relaxing games I've played in a long time.
Oh, wow. Because I mean, like, say if you wanted to take off from Rockford or Milwaukee or Chicago or whatever, and you want to fly to, I don't know, England or whatever like that, is it real time or is it kind of like?
It is real time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The longest flight I've done so far was from O'Hare to Denver.
Okay.
And that was real time flight, like minute per minute.
Wow. Okay. I thought like there would be some sort of like time warping or something like that or whatever. Like, okay, you want to fly to, from Orlando to England or something like that. We're going to make the flight like 10 minutes long or something like that, whatever. So, wow. Okay.
No. Yeah, it actually scares me because, I like to chase achievements.
Yeah.
And one of the achievements is from parking. So when you start in a parking spot in an airport, you literally have to start up the airplane it is completely shut off from a cold start.
Oh.
So whole checklist and everything, take off, fly an 8-hour flight without assistance, land, park, and shut the plane down.
Wow. I mean, you gotta take out almost like your whole day for that.
Yeah, that is going to be I'm committing a day to this.
Okay, that's a colossal achievement.
Yeah, I'm still kind of amazed that even made it in the game, but at some point in time, I will attempt it.
Okay. No, yeah, like you said, it sounds pretty relaxing. Like I imagine you're above the clouds, and the amount of detail. It looks gorgeous.
Yeah, and real time weather too. Lightning, rainstorm. I'm waiting for a hurricane to pop up because I want to see how well that goes.
Okay, so they have all manner of weather,
and it's actually weather that matches where you currently are too.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, they put a lot to this. It's the first time that my Xbox has kicked up to the point that I can hear the fan running.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So it's impressive. I'll give it that. But yeah, other than that, still trying to plug my way through Skyward Sword, which I'm really not becoming a fan of.
Really?
No.
Everyone's been singing this game's praises.
I don't like the controls.
Yeah.
It's really not for me, but then again, I do enjoy Zelda games, but this one just isn't really my cup of tea, so.
Okay.
I'm still bitter about not getting a Loftwing amiibo, so.
Oh yeah, you and everybody else, because that was a feature that was in the game, in the Wii version. And the fact that they took it out and locked it behind an amiibo is just batshit crazy, to me. It's just wild. But
yeah,
Nintendo gonna do what Nintendo gonna do.
Yeah. So, and people wonder why I spend the majority of my time on my Xbox.
Yeah. Same.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
Are you playing with the motion controls, or are you playing with the controller?
I started with the motion controls and then quickly abandoned.
Okay. Yeah.
So, well, it's mostly because my Joy-Cons have some severe drift issues.
Oh, okay. Which is wild because even the new Joy-Cons that they still come out with still have drift issues. It's just amazes me that Nintendo still hasn't fixed the problem.
I mean, have you read the thing about the OLED Switch?
What about it?
It's the same Joy-Cons.
Same
They didn't change anything.
Yep, they didn't change anything.
And I'm like, your brand new console, you're going to cause the same problems. You could have fixed this by now. I mean, come on, guys.
Well, yeah, there's tons of YouTube videos of people fixing it by themselves using household products. You guys are a major tech company, who's sitting on a bank of millions of dollars. You release a Mario game every year and everybody's like, I love Nintendo, and still can't fix a broken controller.
Nope. I'm willing to bet when you send them in to get them fixed, they just grab new ones off the shelf and they're like, here, have it back.
Yeah, right. We fixed it for you. Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, the only other thing that I've been playing an ungodly amount of is The Binding of Isaac.
You're a braver man than I am.
Because poop jokes galore.
Yeah. So is this your first time playing it? Have you ever played it before?
I had dabbled in it a long time ago, but I recently picked it up and have been plowing through it to the point that I've unlocked 2/3 of the endings and about 3/4 of the items. So
are you? I mean, you're into that sort of stuff, huh? You're like, I mean, what do they call that? Roguelike.
Pretty much roguelike. It's just roguelikes, but there's very few of them that I like.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, for some reason, it's got its hooks in me and I can't stop playing it.
Okay.
So I love it. It's fun. It's dumb. Cool. It's my kind of thing.
Yeah. You got to appreciate games like that.
Yeah. So what about you? What's in your arsenal?
Ooh, like that. I've been playing the Great Ace Attorney. I'm a big Phoenix Wright fan, and I was excited for this one because this game, this is like 2 games in one, and they finally localized it for Western release for American audiences because these games have been out in Japan for years, but it's like Capcom is like, no one in America wants to play this game. Why would we localize it? But you know, the Phoenix Wright fan base is a rabid fan base, so they got what they wanted. It's a Phoenix Wright game. It takes place way back, like we're talking like 1800s, with one of Phoenix Wright's ancestors. And you know the game series, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I own a few. I haven't dabbled as much as you have probably, but I'm familiar.
Okay, cool. All right. This is so yeah, obviously this stars one of his ancestors, Phoenix Wright's ancestors, who is starting to become a lawyer, and he's navigating through the world of Japan in 1899 and travels to Great Britain to, learn their ways and whatever. And it's not as it's good because it has its kind of, Phoenix Wright style gameplay staples of just like investigating crime scenes and, deducing clues in the environment, and even just like when you're in courtroom battles, like you're trying to convince, you're trying to convince juries now on like, my client is guilty or my client is, in this case, my client is innocent. But it's not hooking me with the characters like the other Phoenix Wright games. The other Phoenix Wright games had very good, unique characters with kind of crazy little quips about them. And this one has some characters that I'm like, you're not hooking me yet. Admittedly, I'm only like 2 chapters in. So maybe if I play the game a little bit more, maybe I'll gain an affinity to them, but I'm not hooked quite yet.
Okay. I mean, yeah, it sounds like it may need a little more time to simmer.
Yeah, for sure. Once you kind of start to get to know the characters a little bit. And I think that's always the problem with some games. It's like you kind of think about the old games, and you think like, I want that same experience, but you got you have to keep in mind that obviously those experiences spread out over like 3 or 4 titles versus like this is the first one with new characters in it that you have to kind of start all over again. It reminds me of the Mass Effect thing with like Mass Effect Andromeda. A lot of the old Mass Effect players. This is my one mention of Mass Effect per podcast, by the way. It reminds me of like kind of the fan base didn't latch on to Andromeda for a few reasons, but one of them is like, I don't like the characters. It's like, well, give them time to simmer, and I think you may enjoy to appreciate them. So,
fair enough.
I talk about Mass Effect a lot. I have a problem.
Yeah, well, it's okay because I think a lot of people do, and I can appreciate it, even though I've maybe only ever played 1 hour of Mass Effect in my life.
Yeah, it's good. I saw a picture of Alyssa like hugging Garrus. Is that?
Yes.
Where was that?
I have no idea.
I meant to ask about that.
I've really come to learn that the more and more I talk to Alyssa, the more and more I am amazed at some of the stuff that she's been able to accomplish.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she's a really good addition to your guys' show. Really, really awesome. So
yeah.
But otherwise, for Game Pass, I picked up The Ascent this weekend, and like top-down dungeon crawler type games aren't really my cup of tea. But like the art style of this really intrigued me, because this is like the best way I could describe this game is like Cyberpunk meets Diablo 2. And
okay, you're selling me.
Yeah. And the attention to detail and the art direction of this game is stellar. Like, you know, you still have that top-down view where like the character that you control and all the other characters in the environment are kind of like, you know, they're not pretty detail-wise, but the environments that you're in and the buildings and the structures and even just the trash all over, it's one big map. It's a huge map, and you can go almost everywhere right at the same moment. It's just, you know, the enemies that you may encounter are, you know, like I said, they're higher levels than you, so you got to level up, obviously. But it's so fluid in its gameplay. It's obviously, you know, gun-based combat, and you know, a lot of times you can kind of get overwhelmed, you know, by guys coming at you from all directions, but you have this like cool cover-based mechanic where you can duck and like walk around and shoot over cover. So like you hold the L trigger and that raises your gun. So you can actually like shoot over cover and like maneuver around cover as enemies are still trying to swarm you. Like it's so cool. Like when you get into these like, huge firefights, and just keeps the action going and keeps you moving. You stand still, you're dead pretty much. So
yeah, I can definitely appreciate this game. Once we get done here, I may just go download this.
Yeah. It's really, like I said, I'm so much more impressed with just the art design of this game than anything else, because I like to, and that's why I like to maybe pick up Flight Simulator at some point, because I like to just appreciate things in the background or just the world and the environment around me, because there's so much to look at in this game. And the writing and the characters are kind of pretty unique too. All the characters that you encounter are pretty unique too. Like you got like your handler, so to speak, whose name is Poon. He's a colorful little character, but he's got a little attitude that's just like, man, this guy's a piece of shit, but he's hilarious. So,
all right, fair enough.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, thankfully it's not like what I was worried about. And, you know, this was the trend with a lot of these kind of like games is like, you know, the whole looter shooter thing where like everybody wants to be like Borderlands, where like, okay, like you're picking up new weapons and new armor and new gear like every 10 seconds. So you're constantly going through your menu, cycling through the stats and all this stuff. And yeah, I'll upgrade this. Yeah, I'll go to this, or yeah, no, I won't do this or whatever. Thankfully, this game doesn't have that. But what it does is sometimes you pick up the same item more than once.
Okay.
So you'll have doubles of the same handgun or doubles of the same armor. But I mean, you could just sell those off and just, you know, no worries. But that was an interesting choice.
Yeah. What was have you played Dark Alliance yet?
Yeah.
You see, that was one of the most irritating things with me with that game, is the fact that it's like, oh, look, I'm going to keep dropping the same named items, but I'm going to just adjust the slights ever so slightly. And I love those characters, but that I abandoned that game super quickly.
No, yeah, I did for sure. Did you have the same kind of difficulties?
I hit almost level 20.
Oh, really? Okay, so you got a lot further than I did.
Yeah, I cleared more than half that map, and I did almost all of it solo.
Okay.
So yeah, I was pretty commonly bashing my face into a wall.
Okay.
Over how frustrating that game gets.
Yeah. Josh and I played it. We finished Act 1, I think, in its entirety. We finished the first area, whatever. And we both kind of like talked to each other at the end of it, and we both said at the same time almost that I don't think I want to play this game ever again. But I mean, a game that showed a lot of promise, but still, like,
yeah, that it definitely kind of fell on its face quite hard.
I didn't even look into it. I mean, it's going to require a lot of updating to fix it, I imagine.
Yeah, and it's very sad because I know myself and a few other people that I commonly play with. Nate Lucas, our producer, he and I both absolutely love the Driz series, and we've been hyped on that game for a while, and it's just very sad about how hard, like, bad that game turned out.
Yeah, and actually, Josh and I, when we were recording our episode earlier today, we actually both talked about the Ascent because we both played it, and we both were like so impressed with so much hype surrounding this game, the Ascent, and so much, it looks so good, it plays so well, and all the demo footage that you see. And then, it's weird nowadays with games, like, it's like you're so hyped about a game, but then all of a sudden you get it and it's like disappointing, or it's full of technical errors or whatever that just kind of like really just kind of destroys you. Like, it's kind of sad. So it was so pleasing for both of us to say, like, the Ascent came out, a lot of hype surrounding it, between him and I, and then for it to come out and say this game is just as good, if not better, than what I expected. And so happy that it's going that route.
Yeah, I can wholeheartedly agree that then that happens, it's glorious.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I like I said, this isn't my type of game. I'm not usually excited for this, but I think it's kind of like a dungeon like style game because it's primarily an action game. It's just got that whole top down Diablo style viewpoint, but there's good story, there's good lore surrounding it. The story surrounds, like, obviously the whole, like, futuristic, the world is controlled by corporations kind of thing, and you work for this corporation called the Ascent, and you just do odd jobs for them. And then all of a sudden, like, the beginning of the game starts where, like, your company just all of a sudden goes into bankruptcy and leaves you ass out and everybody else that works for that company. So you have to kind of team up with your handler and other kind of unscrupulous types to survive, at least, while shooting a bunch of people. The one thing I always kind of I'm fearful of doing is sometimes you'll be in a crowded neighborhood or a crowded area of, like, just bystanders, whatever. Then all of a sudden enemies start swarming the screen, and you're just like, no, these are innocent people here. And you're just like waving your gun and shooting at everybody. And you're just like, I'm sorry.
It's no Russian all over again.
Yeah, I know. No kidding. It's like people are trying to run away from the gunfire, and they're even like text-based comments are coming up above them. Like, I gotta get out of here. Like, no, you're in my way. Get out. Go. You're just like killing innocent people. Then after everything's said and done, you're just kicking their dead bodies like ragdoll physics. Like, sorry.
Sorry, don't bleed on my boots.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I got blood on my shoes now. But yeah, it's good. Like, it's like I said, I think you get into it. I think you'll really like the music. I think the sound is glorious. Like, every gun has a really good punch to it. The explosions have really good bass to it. Like, it sounds so good. The shotgun just sounds amazing. So,
all right. Well, you sold me. Yeah. I'll download it once we get done.
Yeah, and I actually, in prep for this episode, I thought about, one Xbox exclusive that should have made this list that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, Sunset Overdrive. So I played a lot of that last night, but I'll talk about that later, kind of once we go through the list. But
well, I'm curious. Did you play it before?
Yeah, I played it before, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just pulled it out. I dusted it off the shelf and played it again. So it was a great game. I mean,
yes, it was.
I mean, it's Insomniac. So, and it was weird that they're now a Sony studio, and I don't think they own the rights to Sunset Overdrive anymore.
No, I think Xbox still retains that.
Yeah, because there was always, like, Yeah, there was always like, I think the story of like when Sony bought Insomniac, they became a proprietary studio. Like, would they take Sunset Overdrive with them? But yeah, that was a hard no.
No.
Nope.
So that's going to be a shame too, because I really wanted a sequel.
Yeah, it's the thing. I would love for them to make the sequel. I would love for Insomniac to make the sequel because the first one was so good, so well polished. A lot of that transferred to Spider-Man.
Yes.
So a lot of that stuff that they were kind of messing around with, it's like, yeah, this is something straight out of Spider-Man, which is really cool because like the traversal elements and just the moving around. So, but I'd be afraid if another studio would pick it up, like it just wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. I don't think that there's not too many studios out there that I think that could do that game of justice.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So, well, moving on to our, I don't have a cool tagline for this part. What should we call it? Arsenal topic.
Man.
Yeah, I didn't prep for this. Well,
the rundown.
The rundown. Yeah.
In honor of Sean William Scott.
Yeah. And The Rock. So the Arsenal rundown, where this is our main topic of the show, where we actually talk about, topics obviously related to Xbox. So recently IGN put out a video on their YouTube page, basically ordering the top 10 exclusives to the Xbox family, basically. So starting from the original Xbox all the way up to now Series X. And the Xbox this year is 20 years old. So it's kind of like a cool homage to some of the old games that came up before, and obviously the games that still have yet to come out. But their top 10 list they went through, it's a pretty, predictable list. It's got those heavy hitters that we all expect. Yeah. Like we obviously expect Halo to be on there. We expect Gears of War to be on there. But unfortunately they had to limit it to 10 because there's so many other different exclusives to the Xbox that should have been on this list. But, you got to come up with 10. So that's that.
Yeah. And I will say, I think they did put a very good list together.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So,
like I said, none of these are bad. Like none of these don't belong on here at all. But, like I said, you got to make a list of 10, and there's probably some that were probably sitting on the, cusp and maybe didn't make the cut. But we're here to save the day.
Yes.
We're here to give some other exclusives a chance. So,
yeah.
This is like a top 20, maybe.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
And you know what? I came while we were sitting here thinking about this, as you were describing what we're about to do, I came up with the perfect name for this section.
Oh, okay. What is it?
Unloading the Arsenal.
Unloading the Arsenal. Yes. Those are guns. Those are gun sounds. So yeah. All right, cool. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Unloading the Arsenal. I'm gonna put that in the notes. So unloading the Arsenal. All right, cool. So we're gonna start from the bottom, and we're gonna kind of go from there in terms of what we what IGN went through with their list. The first one was Geometry Wars, which has an interesting history because it was a small little mini game in loading screens during the Project Gotham Racing game.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I was gonna say I didn't play as much as the original, but the Geometry Wars, like the sequels, like Evolved, I played the crap out of.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because those kind of games gave rise to the digital age. Because you could sell that game for $5-10 and have a blast with it. Because, like I said, yeah, that was meant to be in loading screens, but the game was so addicting and so fun that a lot of people stayed on to just play that and not even play the racing components of Project Gotham. It even had leaderboards. So you can actually post your high scores and compare them to your friends and stuff like that, so obviously it evolved to, getting its own full-fledged game, at least a couple versions of it.
Yeah. And it's weird to think about a game basically building its own little franchise off of something that was originally not meant to even be much of anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a game basically where, you know, the right stick or the left stick moves your little, you got this little C-shaped object, you know, in this flat screen, and the right stick is like your continuous shooting, you know, whatever, and all these particles are coming at you. So a lot of it, I think the gorgeous part of it was how smooth it ran and how colorful it was. And it was just like pleasing to the eye just to see, you know, you mow down like all these particles and all these enemies that kind of spawn the screen, and just launching that bomb that just destroys everything on the screen. Oh, magnificent.
Yeah. I mean, and before then, I can't think of the last time we had a truly good twin stick shooter like that.
Yeah. Cause there was a lot of copycats to come out afterwards, but and I think it kind of faded away pretty quickly, unfortunately.
Yeah. A lot of them did. But I know Geometry Wars, it's still kind of sticking there. It's always in the background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I shouldn't say it phased away pretty quickly, because House Marquee, you know, stuck around with that genre for a while. I mean, you had Resogun, which was like a PlayStation 4 title, and even Nex Machina. I think that was kind of like a little twin stick shooter type thing. But yeah, I would say after that, I think that's where it kind of faded into obscurity.
Yeah, I mean, every now and then a few come out. Scott had me play one called Helmut.
Oh yeah, I heard of that one.
Yeah, it's all right. I hate it because they do the cardinal sin of achievements, where an achievement is like 1 point or 3 points instead of 5s or 10s.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that pisses me off.
Mm-hmm. So why don't you take the next one?
So the next one is the ever famous Dead Rising, which I still play to this day.
Yeah,
I love Dead Rising.
I love it too.
I mean, what a perfect concept. I mean, you take the great premise of Dawn of the Dead and make it into a game.
Mm-hmm.
Just who doesn't love mowing down zombies and being ridiculous?
Yeah, that was the thing, because like there was tons of zombies populated on the screen, and to have the game run smoothly with, you know, hundreds of zombies like in your way, and just what would it be like to like make a chainsaw on a hockey stick and then just mow zombies down continuously. This game provides that for you.
Oh, I mean, come on. Nothing's better than beating a fish to death. Beating a zombie to death with a fish.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Or even just like throwing CDs at zombies.
Yeah.
You know, you go to the music store, you grab a bunch of CDs and.
God, what was it? The third one where you could make the dildo gun?
I think you're talking about. Are you talking about Saints Row?
No,
you're right. The third one, yeah.
It had the dildo gun because you shot it and it stuck in their mouth, and then they couldn't bite you.
Yep. I remember. I forgot about that one because that always reminds me of the dildo bat in Saints Row the Third.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this game made it to 4 titles.
Yeah. Technically more, because it had the side story ones.
It had Frank West's. They had a side story, I think, with him, because Frank West came back in the 4th one.
Yep. But as far as main entries, yes, 4 were done, and I to this day I love the boss battles the most. Just like those ridiculous, stupid cutscenes showing these like stupid bosses.
Yeah, psychotic in nature, and yeah.
I think. It was the 3rd or the 4th one that had the lady at the buffet that you had to kill. That one was disturbing.
That was the second one. That was kind of scary. Yeah, that was the second one, because that was the one in Vegas, so to speak. But
yeah, I think they brought it back in the 3rd one too. Like you go into a restaurant, and she's on a hover round.
Oh, I don't know. It's been a while since I played those, because I don't even know when the last one came out. But,
it's been years.
Yeah, it's been years. I know, because Dead Rising 3 was a launch title, I remember, for the Xbox One.
Yep.
And then I think
and then 4 was pretty lackluster compared to the first 3.
Yeah, I think it just lost a little bit of that campiness. Like I think 3 and 4 wanted to be really gritty, really kind of realistic in a way, but I think they lost a little bit of that campiness that made the first two really good.
Yeah. Plus, when you start to make them so big and open world like that, I liked just the premise of being in a mall.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't need to make it super huge. It was good enough.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing I didn't like about it was the timed missions.
Yes.
Because occasionally I would get lost. It's like, oh, hey, do this mission in like 20 minutes or it'll go away. And it's like, you're on your way, but all of a sudden you get lost in the shuffle of just trying to, kill zombies as crazily as you can. And you lose track of time. So, but otherwise, no, the game was great.
Yeah.
Now, Sea of Thieves is the next one. And admittedly, I've never played this title. Have you?
I've played it quite a bit.
Okay. All right, cool.
It's fun. It's cartoony pirates.
Mm-hmm.
Though if I was going to play a pirate game, I would prefer to play Black Flag.
Yeah.
But no, Sea of Thieves is very good. I'm kind of stuck with it until Skull and Bones comes out.
Is it really coming out though?
I hope so, man.
Yeah.
I need it.
Mm-hmm.
I love pirate games. But no, Sea of Thieves has actually been a lot of fun, but admittedly, it's not as fun to play by yourself. This is definitely a game that you need friends to play. It's like having a good D&D campaign.
Right.
You need a core group to just continuously play with. Without that, it kind of just loses a little bit for me. But overall, great game. I mean, it's stuck around this far, and it's one of the few Xbox games that has constantly received updates.
Yeah. Like Rare keeps pushing out update after update. And I think coming up soon next month, they have that Pirates of the Caribbean update, with Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I give them props. I mean, it still has a huge player base.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
So, yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun to play. It's definitely easy to get in and get out. Just play a little bit, have some fun with a few missions, collect some stuff, get off. But I enjoy it. It's fun.
Cool.
Would I put it in the top 10? I don't know, but it'd be up there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, that's probably why it's at the bottom. I guess 7 in this case. But next up is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which was BioWare's like kind of first big open world RPG. Not open world, but like big, like kind of like RPG with choice and consequence. The game is actually part of Star Wars canon officially.
Yes.
Where this game actually took place 4,000 years before episode 1. So
yeah.
You got to see a little bit of the Jedi at the height of their power, fighting the dark side and stuff. And, with some iconic villains and some iconic characters that you play with and whatever. And, a pretty big shock. A lot of twists in the story, but, a really good RPG to really delve into if you want to experience a lot of the lore of some of the earlier empires.
Yes. I mean, it's good enough fact that people still rank it up there with some of the best Star Wars games out there to this day. People still continuously play this.
Mm-hmm.
Zach from our show just recently played through this again.
Yeah, this is actually playable on Xbox One and Series X. Like you could, you have the disc, you pop it in the system, and yeah, you could play it. Like obviously upgraded, updated resolution, but yeah, you could play it.
And the story still holds.
Yeah, it really does. The voice acting still holds. I didn't realize this, but I think in the opening intro of the game where people board your ship. That same intro scene was reused in Mass Effect 2.
Really? They just reskin it?
Yeah, it was like this scene where like they showed a close up of your character's face and the ship shakes, and whatever, and you get up and you get out of your bed. They used that same exact intro in Mass Effect 2. I didn't realize that. I totally blew my mind. I was like, I totally forgot about that. Didn't even think of that. So
yeah, didn't even know.
Yeah. Why don't you take the next one?
Next one is a personal favorite of mine. Ori and the Blind Forest. What an utterly gorgeous game.
Probably one of the best looking Metroidvania games of all time. Like, just gorgeous.
Yes. I mean, I cannot ever stop recommending this series, like both this one and Will o' the Wisps, to people. Some great combat, a lot of fun. It never overstays its welcome.
Yeah.
And I will openly admit, in the second one, I did shed a tear. I mean, it's some powerful storytelling for a game where the character just doesn't speak.
Yeah. Even just, I mean, I shed a tear in the beginning of the first one, and just the amount of emotion that they can pack in just a few minutes to really hook you right away, to say like, this game is something special,
Yes.
And some of the best musical composition, like even just some of the chase sequences where like the music intensity amps up and just, it really gets you in.
Yeah. And at no point in time does it ever feel unfair.
Yeah.
Like if you die in the game, like you knew you screwed up. So it's one of the few times that I think a game has just come together to be damn near perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. In every way, just no hiccups, no frame rate issues, no unfairness. Everything is fairly balanced. Yeah. I agree. Like, no flaws whatsoever.
No.
Either title.
Yeah, it like I said, it's just the damn near perfect game.
Yeah, definitely top on the Xbox list, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls Oblivion made it up there too at the halfway point, number 5. This I played a little bit of this, and admittedly it's been a long time, because I remember at the time this was an ambitious and huge RPG. And this was before, the Western RPGs became a big thing. And
yeah.
I just remember my friends telling me, you got to play Oblivion. You love this. You'll love the story. You love the characters. And, it ushered in a lot of the staples of, having a night and day cycle, needing to sleep, needing to kind of gain sustenance, pack issues with like trying to, you can't carry too much stuff. And even like, trying to complete certain missions at nighttime versus daytime to make it easier for yourself. And even just like talking with, townspeople and townsfolk and stuff is, the writing and the acting on that is second to none, even to this day.
Oh, I mean, you've got Patrick Stewart and Sean Bean in it.
Yeah. Some of the best voice actors out there.
Yeah. For me, I also did, I did not get very far in this game.
Same here, yeah.
I played a lot, but I completed Morrowind and Skyrim. There was just something about Oblivion that really didn't click with me. And I don't know what it is. Like, I've tried going back and playing it multiple times. It's a great game. Don't get me wrong. There's just something about it that it didn't hit for me. But I still want to go through and finish it, because I have had so many people say that once you get to like this far in the game, it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
So maybe this is one that I just need to really sit down and go back and take another crack at.
Yeah, and kind of push through it. I know I've heard that with that game. I've even heard it with Skyrim, because I got really far into Skyrim and I think I just kind of fell off and was just like, I think I'm done. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I almost hate it when people say, "Oh, just play 10 hours of it and it'll get better. It'll get better." It's like, sometimes I think I shouldn't have to wait that long.
Well, I mean, I get that all the time with Mass Effect. Everybody's like, skip 1, just go straight to 2.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, you could possibly skip the first one and go to 2, but you would miss a lot of, character development.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not for everybody, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So,
now the next one speaks my language.
Hell yeah.
Gears of War.
Yep.
I mean, what Xbox fan would not have this on their list?
Yeah. I mean, it literally revitalized third-person shooting, or the third-person shooter genre.
Yeah, especially the third-person cover-based shooting. Again, one of the few games that is really hard to find a flaw.
Yeah.
The not only is the shooting phenomenal, the movement is phenomenal. The storytelling is great.
Yeah.
To the point, like right now, I'm still clamoring for Gear 6.
Yeah.
Like I need resolution to this story.
Mm-hmm.
Just the whole Gears franchise. I think the only one that I never really played was Judgment.
Judgment was like a mini game. You know, it was a good title. It was made by the people Can Fly, you know, the developers that did Bulletstorm and stuff. And, you know, they did a good job, but it was like just horde mode after horde mode after horde mode. It wasn't really like a good, well-developed story like the other ones, but they knew that going in, obviously. But no, the characters really is kind of what sunk it in for you when people would create such an attachment to a Carmine in every game. You know, it's like, you know, Carmine was like kind of like the butt of the joke of just like, okay, he dies in every game, but it's like in the beginning of every game, but still like you kind of cared about him. I think there was like a campaign to have
Save
Carmine. Yeah. Save Carmine or kill Carmine. And I think it turned out Save Carmine won, but he was a badass in that game too. Like they turned him into a really key member of your party.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, between Carmine, Coltrane, Dom.
Yep.
I mean, even Marcus. I have my nice big Marcus Phoenix statue in the game room. He stares at me. He keeps watch.
Yeah. He makes sure you're doing all right.
Yeah, in case I have an emergence hole show up in my room, you know, he's ready.
Yeah, ready to throw that. Yeah, one of my favorite weapons in that was the grenades.
Yes,
it was like on a ball and chain, and just like, you know, plugging up emergence holes with those things was always super satisfying, and having those land in the right spots, man. One of the best grenades in games. I mean, hands down.
Oh, come on, man. It's all about the torque bow too, though.
Oh yeah. The torque bow too. When that lands, oh, so good.
It is, especially multiplayer maps or just horde mode, when you watch that shot sync perfect and you're like, you're about to have a real bad time.
Yeah. Right. Cause I'm going to end this whole man's career. Bam. And that sound.
Yep.
And obviously we got to give props to the Lancer, one of the most epic assault rifles in video games today, with the chainsaw on the bottom.
I vaguely believe there's one not that far from you.
Nope, it's about 5 feet that way. It's on my wall,
and I'm a little jealous to this day.
Yeah, that was the last one I found at Best Buy. I remember calling a few of them one day, and the guy was like, "Yeah, we got one left," and I was like, you keep an eye on it, sir, and I want you to stand right above it for the next half hour, because I'm going to be there and I'm going to buy that shit. So, yeah. But
I'm jealous.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't go wrong with any title. I mean, obviously Gears of War is the first one, is obviously the revolutionary title, but you know, all of them stood up on their own. So
yeah, even the tactics ones.
Yeah, I didn't play the Tactics one.
It's still fun.
Cool.
The Gears Pop one, it's still loaded on my phone. I still play it a little.
Okay. Cool. Fable is next. And this game kind of also was revolutionary to RPGs, because this gave you the option to have relationships and also get divorces when those things didn't work out well. I think even the second one, you can have a dog as a companion.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
It's one of the few games that you can pretty much just about do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And every mission had like kind of like a good and bad ending to it. So you could completely fuck up the ending of a mission, and you know, the game would still go on, but that would alter not only the state of the world, but the state of your character as well.
Yes. I mean, to the point that I played through the first one twice, and I was just like, first time through, I did the, like, I'm going to be a saint, be very, very good. Second time through, I was a dick.
Yeah.
an utter dick to like everybody, just like go and kick kids. And yeah, it definitely puts a whole new spin on making the game hard mode.
Oh yeah.
People are like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to sell anything to you, man. And it still looks good. I actually just reloaded the Fable Anniversary, like the first one on my Series X. It still looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, the animation actually looks, I mean, still stands up pretty good, not only in just like fighting and combat, but even just, you know, talking with people. Like just they're kind of like, they're not stiff. They're like, it's pretty organic conversation.
Yes.
So next one, I don't know if you're not a racing fan, right?
I am a racing fan.
You are?
I'm not an arcade racing fan. Oh, I watch F1, man.
Yeah. Did you watch F1 this morning?
No, I didn't.
Oh man, what a crazy crazy day.
It's been very hard.
Yeah,
it's been very hard the past few years because I mean, I definitely came up in F1 like when Michael Schumacher was still around and like Jaime Alguersuari,
right?
Before Fernando left Renault and
yeah. Well, now obviously you got Alonso back, and you got Mick Schumacher, his son, Michael Schumacher's son, racing. But it was a shakeup today, and I think a lot of like 6 people crashed out in the first lap, and there was the whole thing. But we can talk
Lewis
about
still
that
a dick.
Who
is Lewis still a dick?
He's tried not to be, you know, but he's, you know, I don't know, whatever. He's I think a lot of people booed him at Hungary, and he was walking around like, "Bah, this adds fuel to me now." Ha ha. Blocking the haters. But the so Forza Horizon 4 is second on this list, and a lot of people claim that this is kind of the best title in the Horizon series, which I think it's 3, but I'll give props to 4 because this game is like kind of like it's a simulation racer but with arcade sensibilities. Yeah, because this isn't like a motorsport where like it's fully simulation. This is kind of like there's no, you know, you could drive a Ferrari Aventador, no, a Lamborghini Aventador on grass and sand and stuff and still have a grand old time without causing any damage to your car, which still kind of like bugs me a little bit, but whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, it's got these fun, crazy, bombastic moments of like, okay, you're going to take this Aston Martin Vulcan and you're going to race a fighter jet. You know, and some of those crazy moments too, like that, where it's like, okay, you're going to race a train or you're going to race a speedboat, like really cool elements to it. In the meantime, you know, driving around this big open area and just doing like little missions, getting in races and stuff like that.
Yeah. Now see, I don't have as much experience with the Forza Horizon series. Scott loves them to death. They're his absolute favorite. I was always a fan of just the regular Forza series.
The motorsport series, yeah.
Yep. And for me, it's funny because my favorite Forza is 4.
Okay.
And it's for a really dumb reason, but that was when the cast of Top Gear signed on and did all the like showroom, like talking about the vehicles. Because I'm a massive I love Clarkson, May, and Hammond.
So you like the Grand Tour?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
I adore the Grand Tour. And so I actually bought 2 copies of that game, the special edition. So you had all that. I left one sealed and I have one opened, and I've played through it multiple times. I'm old enough that I've played through the Gran Turismo series on PlayStation. I've played the Forza series. I've played every single one of them, both sides. And I prefer the Forza series because I think they put a little more love and detail into the vehicles.
Yeah. And the feel of them. Like every car feels uniquely different in the motorsport series, where like I feel like they just kind of copy and paste with a lot of the Gran Turismo stuff over time. But you know, yeah, I'm more of a fan of the motorsport series, but I think the Horizon series is a good entry point into the racing simulation game. You know,
yes.
yeah, it's forgiving in a lot of ways. And I mean, the Horizon series is gorgeous. Forza Horizon 4 with the upgrade to the Series X looks absolutely amazing.
Oh, believe me, I'm this is the first time the Horizon series I'm actually clamoring for 5.
Yeah.
I mean, just those skies look so gorgeous.
Yeah, I just like the watching the breakdown video of it. They're like, "Hey, check out this vista here with all these cactuses that we designed every needle on this cactus and stuff, and look at all these gorgeous scenery here." And it's like you're thinking, "Oh, that's where they got the inspiration for the game." That all of a sudden, boom, gameplay. It's like, wow.
Yeah, well, I think that I was sitting next to Scott during E3 when they were showing that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, all the skies we filmed live time 24 hours with 12K cameras." I'm like, "We have that?"
Yeah.
Like, I haven't even seen I hadn't even seen an 8K TV yet, and I'm like, "We have 12K? Like, who the fuck's got this, bro?"
No kidding.
Like, why is this not in my house?
I know exactly. I'm looking at my 4K TV like, ugh, so old.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, the Horizon series is a good entry point, especially if you're a racing fan, and it's it's super fun. It's got these like kind of like co-op elements to it where you can race with other people and race against other people. Forza Horizon 4 even had a Halo campaign where you actually get to race with the Warthog and a lot of simulated Halo missions. That's pretty cool. So, yeah.
Oh, I just wish they would have put a slash mark there, though, and just put Forza Motorsport next to the Forza Horizon.
Yeah, I know. We'll talk about that later, but
oh yeah,
last one. Obviously, we know what the last
Halo.
one is. Halo. Yeah.
I mean, do we need to beat this dead horse? I mean, it's Halo.
It's Halo. I mean, Combat Evolved was the first one that kind of revolutionized the first-person shooter genre. Then Halo 2 came and said, "Hey, you like playing games with other people? Yeah. Get all your buddies, get 8 Xboxes together, hook them all together in someone's basement, and man, some of the best times you'll have ever had back then."
Did you actually ever do a full 8-person?
No.
Back then?
The most I ever did was 4.
Oof. We did an 8-person once.
Yeah.
And that was a logistical nightmare.
I can only imagine.
Because back then, like, we were all kids, and parents would be like, "You're not taking that out of the house."
Yeah, because it's not like, you pick up a small, like, flat screen TV. You were talking about big ass tube TVs.
Oh yeah,
back then.
I mean, you were the badass kid if you had a flat panel tube TV.
Right. Yeah, and those TVs were sometimes heavier than the other ones.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, some good sci-fi elements to it. The Halo series is still going strong, obviously, with they just released the beta to Infinite and multiplayer, and apparently it's been getting some pretty good solid feedback from a lot of people who have played it online. But it still maintains a really strong campaign. Like I said, I think Halo 2 was what skyrocketed it into being one of the best series of all time, and it kept pushing the genre further and further. Halo 5, I thought had probably the more interesting and unique story that I think really divided the fan base to where like not a lot of people cared about playing as John Locke.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. For me, I've loved all of them.
Mm-hmm. I love Halo
all the way
Reach.
through.
Actually, Halo Reach is probably top for me.
One of the best endings.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you knew how it was going to end, and it was like it didn't make it that much more easy to deal with.
No, it is definitely one of the more rough game endings to deal with.
Yeah, because I just remember that scene. I really lasted as long as I could. Like I was like, I am not dying here. Like you knew kind of going into it, like this is where like the game ends when I die. But I was man, it was one of those things. Like I'm getting goosebumps actually thinking about it now. But I'm just like, I am not going down without a fight, and I lasted as long as I could.
Yep.
Man, that's so good.
I don't know if you remember, but for me, like I remember the TV campaign for Halo 3.
Oh yeah.
To me, that for me was the pinnacle of video game TV advertisements.
Mm-hmm.
Because just those live action, like I was there, I remember the chief fighting,
Mm-hmm.
like just some of the like most awesome stuff put together, and like just the fact that you have a game franchise that a company cares about so much that they're going to put that kind of budget into making something, and the fans just ate it up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Halo's definitely Microsoft's biggest franchise. And it's spawned into obviously spin-off titles like Reach, and Reach can be kind of like a full-fledged title, but even ODST, even just like the Forever Dawn or whatever series. And I think there's still rumors of there's still a movie kind of circulating.
Oh yeah.
Around. So with Steven Spielberg, I think even being attached to be a producer.
I believe at one point in time, yes. I don't know if he still is. But I mean, you also have the Halo Wars series.
Yeah.
All the books on top of that. It's just it is an utter like force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
In the gaming world.
Definitely, for sure. And one that, I mean, I've said the word revolutionized many times today, but it definitely revolutionized the first person shooter genre, like forever.
Well, I mean, when you're talking the top 10 across 4 generations of consoles, I mean, every single one of these in their own right was revolutionary.
For sure. For sure. And that's why this is a pretty good list. But
yes.
we have our own list that we wanted to add to it. And the first one, it looks like you and I both put on, which was Sunset Overdrive.
Yes.
Definitely a good kind of sleeper hit for Insomniac, who's well known for, the Resistance series, and obviously coming out with this. But this is probably one of the funniest games I think I've ever played, because it had such really good tongue-in-cheek humor, a little bit of an edgy punk rock vibe where, you're in this post-apocalyptic town where like everybody drank this energy drink and it turned them into bubbly zombies and bubbly monsters or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, the tongue-in-cheek humor and just the over-the-top action sequences to a punk rock soundtrack just made this game so much fun. And just air grinding, over rails and like power lines is just so fun.
Yeah, it's just such a fun game. This is almost what I wanted the Dead Rising series to like kind of morph into.
Yeah.
Because it does have that heavy element of like, this is almost like Dead Rising, but it's enough separated that it's its own thing, and the humor in it is awesome. The jokes are fun, the stories are campy as hell, but still enough that it got its hooks in me. I couldn't play anything else actually until I finished this game. And I loved every minute of it. And I really, to this day, I know we talked about it earlier, but God damn it, give me a sequel, please.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame because, like we said earlier, Insomniac moved to Sony to be a Sony studio, and Microsoft now owns the Sunset Overdrive series. But man, I would love for Insomniac some way to just, I don't know how it could be done. I don't think it can, but man, I would still love a sequel. If someone else could come in and make it the same, all the power to them.
I'm sure we can find someone.
I could see.
There's got to, there's got to be a studio.
I could see maybe Avalanche doing it. They got a little bit of experience with like campiness stuff, like with Just Cause and stuff. Maybe.
I mean, I could even see Machine Head games.
Yeah.
Because as campy as the Wolfenstein series has been at times, you could do it, but switching to third person, I think, might be a little bit of a hard shift for them.
Yeah. Well,
but I still think they could do it.
Yeah, I think they could. I'm assuming they're working on the Indiana Jones game, that it's going to be in third person. I would assume so, but so that should be interesting to see. So, so you put down Gun, and I totally forgot about this one.
Yeah. Gun, like the other Red Dead game.
Yeah, right.
Gun had so much better gun physics and play. Granted, I liked Red Dead Redemption's story better. I like Red Dead Revolver was campy as fuck.
Right.
But fun. But Gun was a little more fun in some aspects. And I'm actually really surprised that this is a series that kind of got left by the wayside. It had potential. It could have continued.
Yeah, and it was rated pretty good. I mean, it was in the immediate launch window of the Xbox 360, and it got a lot of really good reviews. It had really good voice acting in it, and just people just forgot about it.
Yeah, I mean, for the people that did play it, they remember this game.
Yeah.
I mean, you could talk to a lot of people that are like, do you remember Gun? And like you just did. You're like, yeah, I forgot about that. And I'm like, yeah, it was one of those sleepers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was another really good one. I would love to see.
Bring it back.
Yeah, right. Another one I put on was this was a like a jewel of mine at the time. Shadow Ops Red Mercury so imagine at the time and during this came out on the first Xbox. If Michael Bay decided to make a video game, and this was this game, and we're talking like AAA blockbuster, over the top action sequences. I think the editing was so good. It was on par with like a Hollywood blockbuster movie. But the whole like corporate, not corporate, but like military intrigue and just crazy over the top action sequences and storylines of just like nuclear war and everything like this and hunting terrorists down. Really good, solid first person shooter. And at the time, and had, like I said, really good voice acting, really good storyline that just kind of added a little bit of that kind of Hollywood action to it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I could definitely get behind that too.
Yeah. At the time, it was like I said, they had really good first person shooters. Were still kind of trying to cross that edgy mark, whatever, where Call of Duty started coming out, Medal of Honor started coming out, and then Shadow Ops Red Mercury, where it's like, hey, let's make a movie based like kind of like how Michael Bay would make a game, so. Okay.
I will have to see if I can hunt that one down, because I don't think I've ever played it. I had another one, Jade Empire.
Yes.
Great story. Mm-hmm. Great play. And again, another one that surprisingly not really much of a follow-up.
Yeah, it was this was another one made by BioWare, and this came out a little bit after KOTOR. And I mean, I thought the combat was really good, the way you could kind of change styles on the fly. Like you weren't locked into any certain kind of like melee combat styles. Like you could change kind of on a whim almost. But
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, and it's funny because the more recently a game that kind of reminded me of that was Ghost of Tsushima, where you had the different stances that you could switch between.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, it definitely made me kind of think of like, what if Jade Empire had continued and kept evolving and growing?
Yeah.
Could that have been like where that headed?
Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have probably had Mass Effect though, bro.
I know.
But honestly, I wonder, if that would have been given a chance to blossom. Yeah. I wonder how that could have gone.
I mean, could we have had a similar Ghost of Tsushima on Xbox?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause BioWare was an Xbox studio for a while. Because Mass Effect was Mass Effect 1 and 2 were Xbox exclusive for quite a while. And then when EA came.
Yeah. Those dirty, dirty men.
Yep, exactly. So,
but it's funny because it feels weird because now they're not the bad guys anymore.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
it is weird. It is weird now. It's like, EA's like, whoo, thank God.
Somebody else, thank you for taking that role.
Yeah, exactly. Knew we should have announced that Dead Space remake. Woo! Now we're back on top, boys.
Yeah.
Maybe. So
we'll see.
we talked about this earlier. Forza Motorsports is, when that first came out, obviously it was the direct competitor to Gran Turismo. And over time, I think, Gran Turismo was better in a lot of ways, but, given like when it got to Forza Motorsport 3, that's when all of a sudden it was like, okay, yeah, right, this is better than Gran Turismo. And it just kept getting better and better and better. And, like you said, what was it? 4 had the top tier guys like narrating, because everything had a Vista mode where you can like actually walk into the car and open the doors and
start the motor.
Yeah.
Like watch the whole startup sequence on some of these like super high end cars, which for a lot of people that are never going to have the chance to sit in these kind of cars, like it was a truly revolutionary feel.
Yeah. Because like you said, you'll never ever sit in this car ever probably in your life. But the fact that you can kind of at least somewhat get to a point where you could see it,
Yeah. Man, and the racing always felt so clean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, simulation racing games are always like, if the game is the game is not necessarily unfair. It's just like one of those things, you're just not that good at it. So like you got to really kind of learn the racing lines. You really have to learn the mechanics of your car. How much can you push it when you get to the apex of the turn? How much gas do you apply, and brake pressure and tires and all this stuff. You have to really micromanage everything. And for a lot of people that may be too much. Like, I just want to get in there and race. But, for
true gearheads, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it was Gran Turismo, not Gran Turismo 3, but Forza 3 was the first time I really truly learned the benefits of like high in, low out, and low in, high out.
Yep.
Especially with like high bank turns. Managing like your drag, and like changing like your different, like your splitter, like just adjusting it so much can make all the difference in the world.
Even like changing the gear ratio. I know I did a lot of experimenting with that. It's like, if I want higher acceleration, I almost want like, to push the limits of like, shifting late in second gear and everything. And it's just, there's so much science behind it.
Yeah, it makes that's really what brought a lot of love for watching racing for me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is because you found out like there's so much more to that monster than most people realize. It's not just driving turn.
Yeah, for sure. There's so much more nuance to it, and Forza Motorsport did it really well. And I was a little disappointed when they announced Forza Horizon 5 before Motorsport. I think they're on 8 now.
I think they're actually just full on rebooting.
Oh yeah, that's what I heard, because I think they said like we're trying something new, which a little bit scares me, a little bit, kind of keeps me hopeful, because I know they'll keep the racing roots ingrained in the game, but maybe in a different presentation.
For the love of all that is holy, start bringing damage to the cars.
Yeah, like significant damage. Like, it would be nice to have, like I race with full simulation on, and it would be nice to see a little bit more physical damage,
to the point that it could actually affect, like if you're running like a 24-hour Le Mans race and you lose your hood.
Yeah.
Like your drag is going to be significant.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
and I know there is a lot of those elements where like, yeah, you smash into someone, and yeah, obviously you're going to lose a little bit of, you're going to lose your transmission a little bit, and maybe like, yeah. But it would be cool to see tire punctures almost.
Yeah.
Even I don't think they've ever gone that route.
No, I don't think they have either.
So, but that would obviously require pitting, and we'll see. We'll see if it gets to that point.
Yeah, we'll see. My next one is Psychonauts.
Yeah. The second one's coming out pretty soon here.
Yeah, a nice little comedy series that has been very well beloved by many people. I'm actually I had just downloaded the first one based upon Zach's recommendation of playing this, and I'd also recently watched the trailer for 2, so some of the humor I I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of funny, but I don't get all the references. But I know that it'd been a long time since Psychonauts 1 came out.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's getting a sequel and people are clamoring over this, I'm like, why wasn't this mentioned anywhere? Especially, I know it's been a long time. It's only had one game. So, I mean, the second one may fall flat on its face, but we'll see. But I think this one has enough of a fan base that I think this probably should have been at least an honorable mention on their list.
Yeah, for sure. At least mentioned, for sure. Because Double Fine is really, has really good writers on their staff. I don't know how they do it, but just some really good tongue-in-cheek humor. It's some really good, story beats and just unique gameplay elements. So,
yeah.
I skipped Advent Rising.
I was wondering if you were going to come back to that.
Yeah, because this game had such high potential, and I know part of it doesn't belong on this list at all. But the fact that there was such high potential going into this game, when you hire like an acclaimed sci-fi writer, Orson Scott Card, to write the game for this, and even before the game comes out, pledges that this will be a trilogy. It's like no wonder everybody was like, "Oh my god, like this is going to be a huge game," and even like promising like, "Oh, enter for a chance to get into like $1 million raffle prize or like contest or something like that." They were banking on this game hard, and it fell flat somehow. I thought the gameplay, the combat was good. It was a typical third-person shooter. It had this kind of crazy, epic, godlike story of you rising to godhood at the end. To save humanity from this alien threat, apocalypse, whatever. But I'm really sad that we don't get a continuation to this story. It would be interesting to see because obviously the game ended with a huge cliffhanger, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And it wasn't the first time that happened. Why, it was one of the first times it happened, but I remember similar things happening with Kingdom of Amalur.
Yeah, that was another one.
Yeah, I mean, when Todd McFarlane and R.A. Salvatore behind that project, and the whole game studio run by Kurt Schilling. I was recently reading Jason Schreier's book and how that all kind of just fell apart, and it makes you wonder, like, what happened to some of these other ones, like your Advent Rising. So, I mean, because like you said, it's supposed to be part of a trilogy. What happened?
Yeah. Will we ever see it again? Probably not. And that's kind of sad to me sometimes. So,
yeah. I have now I'm starting to stray outside the lines here. But my next two, I'm going to bring up this one first. Cuphead.
Yeah.
What an utterly beautiful game.
It's amazing that that's an art style that no one asked for, but everybody loves,
Yes.
Like a typical, like old style, the old Disney cartoons of like that kind of like 1920s style animation that they fucking nailed it like perfectly.
Yes. Well, I mean, the fact that this was all hand-drawn cells.
Yeah.
I mean, what an utterly amazing technical achievement for games. Because I can't even imagine how many art cells they would have had to have drawn to do like every single movement in that game.
Yeah.
Is mind-boggling. And to this day, I still love playing the game. I pick it up every now and then, like once every other month. Like I'll boot it up and play through it a little bit more and a little bit more. Incredibly difficult game, but
very much so.
It's one of the few times that a developer's like, you know what? Fuck you. We don't care. This is the game that we wanted to make. We're not going to sit here and pander to you. I mean, it is the Dark Souls of platformers.
It really is. I mean, it's funny that Dark Souls is now like almost like a subgenre. Like that's how we refer to those style of games. But it's true because it's like, it's hard and it's challenging. But there's something about that game that makes you clamoring to come back, to just keep going, to keep pushing. And you'll eventually accomplish it. It's not impossible.
No. There's just a very high learning curve to that game.
Yeah, very high learning curve. But once you get
yeah. Well, I remember the phenomenon behind this game when it came out, and people like everybody like, bro, did you play Cuphead?
Mm-hmm.
I played Cuphead. You need to play Cuphead. Like everybody played this game.
Yeah.
And man, like I still love it. It's still somewhere out in the ether that they're working on a sequel.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Who knows when or where?
Mm-hmm.
But I know they talked about it. I think it was like E3 like 3 years ago.
Okay.
They announced a Cuphead sequel, and I'm still like, yes, I can't wait for it to get here. But and it's sad because I still haven't beaten the first one.
Oh yeah, same.
But,
I got a pretty significant amount of the way through, and I stopped obviously, but
yeah, pick it up though. Try it again.
Oh, I'm scared. It was like one of those things. If I haven't picked up a game in a while, like I'm just gonna start over. I mean, I wouldn't mind starting over because the game is fun by itself, but in its own right. But yeah, I mean, it's challenging, but it's that kind of like, you're chasing that high of just like once you get it, once you nail that technique, once you nail beating that boss battle, it's just so satisfying and just keeps you pushing on to go for more.
Yes, and addictive and beautiful.
Yep, beautiful for sure. What'd you say your other one was?
Well, my other one, I want to talk about yours first because I have a feeling we're going to stick on mine for a moment and talk about something with it.
All right, cool. Well, say what you want about Quantum Break, but I think, this was made by Remedy Studios, and this game was in development hell for years. I remember because they made this game alongside kind of like a TV series. It was supposed to be a mixture of both. And I think they kind of dialed it back a bit through production to say, like, why don't we just kind of focus more on the game development side and do almost like live action cutscenes in between. And they hired some pretty good actors for these, scenes. I mean, I'm blanking on their names, but it would be like you would finish a significant portion of the game, and then you would be treated to like a 10, 15 minute like TV episode almost. And, the game is about obviously like time travel, and, your character's brother like finds a way to kind of unlock time. And, this corporation that hired him to do this is using it for their own benefit. Shocking. But some really good tight gameplay. The storyline was really good. I always have a problem with the way stories and media talk about time travel, but I thought they nailed it pretty good. But just, like I said, the characters that they hired to do these roles, it was just I thought they were really good and really engaging. And it's Remedy. Remedy does really good third person action.
So can I tell you a little bit of a secret?
Yeah.
I utterly adore this game.
Oh, I like that.
This is the game that actually made me fall in love with Remedy Studios. Because before this game, I'd never played a Remedy game.
You never even played the Max Paynes, huh?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
I had never played them. I played Quantum Break because at the time I was a huge fan of the show Fringe.
Yeah.
And so when I found that Lance Reddick and
I love
was in
Lance
this,
Reddick. I just love his voice. So good.
Yes. But between him and Sean Ashmore, who is he was the main character
right?
in the game. Yes. Yeah. So I loved both of them as actors. And when I found that they're like, oh, these two are making a game together, I played through this game twice.
Yeah.
Like finished the game, played again. And I'm like, I love this game. I love this game a lot. Went back, started playing Alan Wake. Didn't really catch the Alan Wake buzz until later.
Yeah.
Because then I played one of my favorite games, which is Control.
Love that game so much.
Control.
Yeah.
Be still my heart.
Yep.
But Quantum Break, I actually love this game, and I'm so mad that it kind of got panned over by a lot of people.
Yeah, it sucks because I mean it had such high hopes, and I think it was kind of like it fell victim to that development hell of just like it was known for so long, and I think just people forgot about it. So when
Yes.
when it came out, it was like, okay, all right, this is that game they were talking about.
But I will say the gameplay to cutscene footage was a little harsh sometimes because it was like hard cuts.
Yeah.
And instead of they could have done the transitions a little better. But the story was great. The gameplay was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love the just boom, stop time. All right, go down, round, do the things, and then speed time back up and watch what happens.
Yeah.
Man. And I really can't think of a bad Remedy game.
I really can't either. Honestly, everything that they've put out has been pretty top notch.
Yeah. And so much so that I can't wait for a second Control if they ever do it.
I mean, looking at their past history, I don't think they do sequels, but I mean, I think the only sequel they've ever done was Max Payne 2, but I would love another Control, or at least in that same universe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now that they're kind of tying everything together with Alan Wake and Control, maybe they can bring Quantum Break into this universe. And then it's going to blow my mind when they're like, oh yeah, we're actually all in Max Payne's universe still. And they're like, we got you.
Yeah.
Max Payne 4 ties it all together.
Oh man, that would be just so amazing.
So it's like, oh, I'm living the dream.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this was probably one of the biggest heartbreaks for me, because I enjoyed this game so much, but the fact that it kind of fell on deaf ears when it came out was like, wanted to scream it at the rooftops, like, why don't you guys like this game?
Luckily, I never got caught up in the development hell for this game. So I was late to the party, so I didn't have all that back memory of people talking about it. So when I played it, it was fresh for me. It was new. I had no idea. I was like, oh, look, two actors I like are in a game. Let's play it.
Cool. And it became one of your favorite games of all time.
It's definitely up there for the Xbox One generation.
Cool.
So, all right. So I have a mystery one that I'm going to kind of pitch to you.
All right. Hit me.
And it's kind of I was bouncing back and forth between two. And I will give you the runner up first. Steel Battalion.
Yes, I can see that. That's a rough game, but a good.
It's a rough game, but ambitious.
Very ambitious, and
that's what I love.
Yeah, it introduced permadeath as an option. I mean, obviously, we got to talk about the controller.
Yes, stupidly huge, and love it. But I mean,
the amount of in-depthness of starting up the engines and flicking all the little, just like you're almost like a fighter pilot. And
yes,
the game controls very well, even though your field of view was very small.
Yes, I will give you that. And playing multiplayer was a nightmare. But that's one of the things I've always loved about Microsoft is they're always willing to kind of step outside their comfort zone and try something new.
Yeah.
So, my final pick for my list is actually Kinect Sports.
What?
I told you, a little controversial here.
Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna give you the floor.
The Kinect. I know it never really got its time to shine.
Unfortunately it didn't. And now that you mentioned that, I'm gonna come back at you with one other one after this.
Okay. But I love the Wii. Don't get me fun. Don't get me wrong with that. But there was something about having a game that you could play party style games with your friends in a party style set, just everybody get together, start drinking, have fun.
Yeah. And
playing sports games without controllers.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievably responsive if it was set up right.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time with my Kinect, and I actually made sure to get the depth of field right and have a flat back behind me. And that is some of the most fun I'd ever had playing with friends. I mean, just it was ambitious, and it really pushed the idea of AR and VR to the forefront. I mean, I'm sure you've heard me talk about it before, but I am an utter I guess, preacher for VR. I love it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you and me both.
And with like that combination of like we were almost to the point of getting true AR.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the Kinect to this day. I have 4 of them. And the fact that I have almost every game that came out on the Kinect, I will still play it to this day on occasion.
Mm-hmm.
But Kinect Sports was that first truly like you could get a really good workout going at the same time as having fun with your friends. And it was truly kind of revolutionary because you could also get kids into playing games, but also being active and trying new things. I just really wish that it didn't kind of fall flat, because I feel that once they shifted to the Xbox and they're like, oh yeah, it's only gonna, I mean, the Xbox One, they're like, it's only gonna come with the Kinect. Like you have to be there and it has to be on.
Yeah.
But then when they did the redesign for the Series X, and they're like, oh yeah, you can't plug this in anymore. Oh, no, it's the S.
So yeah, I think it was the Xbox One X, I thought, right? And the S.
Well, the Xbox One S was when they first made that shift, when they made the small and like, oh, you have to have the adapter to be able to still use your Kinect. And then they're like, you know what? And then when they went to the X, they were like, we just dropped all support for it. We're done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? This thing had potential.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I hate when you see somebody that like almost an entire console generation like keep pushing and pushing, and I'm like moving to the forefront, and then they abandon it.
Yeah,
because it was a very like ambitious project to the fact that even third-party developers were starting to use the Kinect with the programming for other things.
Well, yeah,
like there was surgery simulators.
Mm-hmm. There was even other games that like. You could use the controller and the Kinect almost simultaneously, like just even like menu navigation of just like little flick of the wrist, and it like, you know, you grabbing things in the ether almost and just enabling them with just hand movements as going back to your controller at the same time. It was so cool.
Alien Isolation.
Yeah. It actually,
so you could actually like turn your head and your character's head would pan out and look around corners.
Mm-hmm. Or even like, it would have the microphone on. So like if you started to breathe heavy, or if you kind of like let out a loud noise, like that would actually tip off the alien in your area. Man, so immersive.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess not necessarily just, I would say Kinect Sports, but I guess just the Kinect in general, I feel deserves a little more love than it got.
Yeah. It really does. It was almost like, I wonder if it almost had that Dreamcast curse where it was a little bit too ahead of its time.
Yeah. Especially with the rise of VR now.
Yeah.
So you said you had a little bit of a rebuttal to it.
Yeah. Dance Central was near and dear to my heart because it was the same thing. I bought the game and I was like, this looks kind of like a Dance Dance Revolution, but like, yeah, you're just obviously mimicking the dance motions that they throw on the screen for you. And we're talking like popular pop songs and rap songs that you could really dance to. And I think even at the time they had a DLC of Gangnam Style when Gangnam Style was huge. Like that, I remember like my friends were like, did you download Gangnam Style on Dance Central? Let's go dance it. You know, and like I had my younger cousins coming over, wanted to play it too. And just, you know, you didn't have to be a good dancer, really. Obviously, all you have to do was like mimic the motions that they showed you on the screen, and it didn't matter if you did a good job or a bad job. It was just the fun of just moving around and just dancing to music was kind of fun. And it was like very responsive. Like, you know, it was, you know, it wasn't like I did the move right and it wouldn't register. Like the Kinect registered it, and it's like, we got you, man. Don't worry. But yeah, that was another one that was like a guilty pleasure of mine.
I have every single one of them, and I played every single one of them.
Oh yeah, no, probably one of the better dance games. I know. I actually played it on the VR on the Oculus Quest 2, and it still holds up. Actually, like it actually is. You know, those Harmonix is the developer.
Yeah,
they do a really good job with it on the VR. I gotta admit.
Yeah. So Yeah, like I said, my last one was going to be a little controversial because there's going to be some people like, "What are you thinking, man? Like, what's wrong with you?"
The Kinect, come on. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I mean, the fact that you can go out and buy them for like $1 today, but
yeah,
I still love it, and I still think that it needs a little more. It needs a little more credit than people like to push off away from it. So
yeah, I'm actually, you got me thinking. I may dust it off. I mean, I have it in a drawer. I got both the 360 Kinect and my Xbox One Kinect. But yeah, maybe I may dust that off at some point in the future.
Yeah,
be interesting. So well, that's our pretty much top 20 there. With a little bit extra in there. But Chris, I want to thank you once again for joining me, man. I really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me, man. It's always good to help out when you can.
Oh yeah, for sure. Two dudes loving Xbox, talking about Xbox. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So remind us again, where can our listeners follow you?
The Gaming Outsider. It's a podcast, a family-friendly podcast. You can listen to it wherever podcasts are available through whatever catcher app you use, Spotify, any of those. But as far as me personally, you can find me on Twitter or Instagram or even TikTok at GoCast Chris B.
He's got a lot of stuff. Chris is an avid collector, obviously, as we know. You got thousands and thousands of games in your library. And occasionally he'll actually post a lot of some of his great finds that he finds out there in the ether. So he's definitely worth a follow. For sure.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So is my buddy Stoy here. I mean, he's a phenomenal guy, and I always love hanging out with you.
Oh yeah, it's always fun hanging out. So like now that we got obviously Midwest Gaming Classics coming up in November.
Oh, so, I will be there.
Oh yeah, I'm saving up money now as we speak. So
yeah. Oh, me too, man.
Yeah. So I remember the last one that we were at where you so excited that you found Little Samson. And that was a proud day for everybody.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to. I've talked to some of the vendors, and there's some stuff up there that I may be chasing this year. So we'll see what shows up.
My one grail is Resident Evil Gaiden for Game Boy. When I found out that that's literally the only Resident Evil game I do not have in my collection, I was like, I must have this. So yeah,
I may be able to help with that.
We'll be in touch, sir.
We'll do.
All right. Well, we're the Arsenal X podcast. I didn't write an outro for this, so I'm going to completely ad-lib this. You can follow this podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, like Spotify, Google, Apple, all that stuff. And definitely give us a follow on YouTube as well, where you can catch video clips of these episodes. And we are part of the Boss Rush Games network of podcasts. So check out all the other stuff that we have, like those grand old boys, the EXP cast. That's also my flagship podcast where you can follow me at. And you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Boss Rush Games and EXP Cast as well. That's about wraps it up. So thanks again, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you.